The scripture says in Matthew 22, verse 37 to 39, love thyself as thy neighbor, right? Now, in order to love yourself as your neighbor, you must be able to put yourself in your neighbor's position. You must be able to empathize. A person who cannot empathize cannot love their neighbor as themselves. And in such case, some persons don't even love themselves to love their neighbor. And then in other cases, some persons love themselves too much and their neighbor too little, right? Each of us have a level of empathy. Some persons have more empathy, some persons have less, some persons to me have none. That's to me, right? Now, many of us would see people who commit heinous crime, right? Like for example, that serial killer, the psychopath, the sociopath, and the narcissist, and people like them, they have very low empathy or none at all, right? So how their brain is wired is totally different than how the typical human brain would wired to make them feel bad about something or make them able to see other person's position. Now, one of the things that stand out for me in terms of I've been doing some series of study on NPD, narcissistic personality disorder, and what strikes me the most is that a lot of us would have encountered persons in our family that are actually narcissistic. As a matter of fact, you'd encounter persons at your workplace that are narcissistic. Trust me on that. You'd encounter people at your high school that are narcissistic, right? And don't get me wrong, every one of us will demonstrate from time to time a narcissistic trait, right? Posting it on the status and this and that and that, right? Or sometimes you want to be in control or that, but that's a different thing than a narcissistic personality disorder or someone that's narcissistic, right? So all of us at some point may be selfish, all of us, but it's not something that outline a characteristic, right? Now, a person that is narcissistic, their brain is wired in a different way, where they have um, very low value of themselves, and so what they try to do is to take on, they portray their weakness to others, and they take on other person. If they see a person that is strong, they actually take the image of the person for themselves. So a lot of time, if you ask them to self-reflect, the identity that they give off is not the identity that you will see. So they will give you the identity of somebody else that's around them. Normally, the crab, the hermit crab that takes somebody else's shell, right? So what a narcissist do most of the time is they surround themselves around people that are strong, people in powerful position, because it makes them feel powerful. And what they try to do is to be very manipulative in order to control, right? One of the things with narcissists, they tend to, their relationship is very parasitic. So what they do, they will attach to somebody that is healthy or strong, and then use them until the person has entirely changed in terms of emotionally changed. And then after that, when there's nothing more to give, like a parasite, they will move on to a fresh host, right? Now, what I have observed in my studies is that it is it don't make any sense to be trying to engage in conversation. The least conversation or deep conversation you can is the best. So it's better to be like, especially in the work environment. Trust me on that one. Talk about things that are shallow. Like don't because they will try to set you up. The more you elaborate, is the more they try to use whatever you're saying as an ammunition. You understand? And they're always trying to tear you down so that they can feel good about themselves, right? So it's like they want to feel superior or something. As a matter of fact, let me say this: a lot of people who you see them study, like they study and they study and they study, or they go on to, because what they're trying to do is to separate themselves to make them feel like, oh, I am greater than you and you are less. You understand? And then what you will also realize is that in terms of narcissism, it's all about control. So they try to control your behavior. So they will box you or hit you, and then when you respond, they say, look at, they become very angelic and say, look at that person, look at how they're behaving, and therefore they say that you are the reason why 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 there is discord. Understand? This topic for me hit personally because when I reflect growing up, like a lot of us, some of us have parents that are narcissists, some of us have brothers, cousins, some of us have people in your family were narcissistic. You understand? But you would realize that you can't agree with that brother. You can't agree that brother don't have no conscience. That sister they don't have conscience. You always at conflict with that cousin. That cousin doing some things where like them not a conscience. Really and truly they are wired differently. Every single thing about how they are wired is how they can manipulate. Once they enter an environment, it's all about manipulating, and then what they try to do is to manipulate you, right? So that they can get what they want, but they do not give. A narcissist do not give. They all they do is to take. So they will take your, if you have they look for things that are healthy. So if you have peace in your life, and they have a high level of jealousy. So if you have peace in your life, they want that. And once they get that, they will come in your life and cause discord, and they like that environment that is toxic because they cannot survive in an environment that is peaceful, that is good. The environment have to be toxic. If you look on the workplace, right? Anywhere a narcissist is going to be toxic. I'm telling you that. If it's in the workplace, if it's in the home, if it's in the community, it's going to be toxic because a fish need water to swim in. Without the water, the fish cannot swim. A narcissist cannot be where there is not a toxic environment. And the greatest thing you can do with narcissism is not to respond. That's difficult. Is not to respond, right? Because by responding, you give them power to say, look at your behavior, look at that. And therefore, it gives them pleasure. So they now become the one in control. I believe that God has been teaching me this in terms of you have to control your emotions, control your behavior. You understand? If other persons can, I believe that God has been carrying me through a series um of growth. And if you know me, whether you're my friend, any friend who know me, I'm a very reactive person. You know me, you know me. If you do me something wrong, you're gonna know. And that's why I'm very reactive. And I think what God has been trying to do is to carry me into a series of learning where you have to understand that you as a man, especially as a man, I'm saying it to all of the men out there, you have to be in control of your emotions. You have to be able to control your emotions. You understand? Do not be the power. I heard somebody say this. The power of a strong man is to control your emotion, control how you respond. If you can control how you respond, it means that you are in control and nobody is in control over you. All right, bless up.